I don't know. I mean, he could be your wide receiver 1 now that Amari Cooper decided to take his talents to Cleveland.
I was hoping we could avoid that.
We were not going to.
You talked about a wide receiver wearing a star on his helmet. What did you think was going to happen, Jack?
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Keeping Score with Dylan and Jack, a podcast show dedicated to bringing analysis of Rutgers sports and sports around the country. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Jack.
And in today's episode, we take a look at Ron Harper Jr. declaring for the NBA draft, the craziness that has been the NFL offseason, and more sports news to look forward to in the future. But before we get into any of that, we're joined by a special guest today, the sports director over at WRSU and our men's lacrosse beat writer, Chris Tsakonas. Chris, how you doing today?
I mean, I'm on this podcast, so my day couldn't really be going much better, could it?
I mean, I'd have to agree with you personally. Always a good time.
Actually, that's a lie. I have an 8:30 a.m. tomorrow, so if that got canceled, then my day could get better.
8:30 on a Friday. Wow.
Yeah. Well, got to graduate, man.
I guess so. Hey, you don't want an extra fall on campus?
I mean, I don't know. Ask the people paying my tuition.
Fair. But I think we have to start this off, guys. One of the best players that any of us have ever seen play for Rutgers, Ron Harper Jr. He officially declared for the NBA draft yesterday, so his eligibility is done. You know, he's going to the NBA. I think he's a projected second-round pick by most experts, and you know, a lot of memories of that guy.
I couldn't have said it better. I mean, Ron Harper Jr. is that dude. I mean, everyone says he's different.
He's that guy.
He's that guy. And so many memorable moments, especially this year from him. He obviously beat Purdue on one of the greatest buzzer beaters, probably the greatest buzzer beater I've ever seen. And then the Indiana shot was cold-blooded to the core. Unbelievable player, unbelievable person too, really good in the media room, always very respectful, very nice. And from all accounts off the court and out of the media room, he's also a very nice and respectful guy. So really hoping that he finds his niche in the NBA. A lot of the times when it comes to NBA players, it matters about fit and where they end up going if he's utilized right on the team. I'm really hoping he ends up on a team that's able to fulfill his talents, and hoping for the best for Ron. Whatever team, if he gets on in the NBA, automatically my second favorite team in the NBA behind the Lakers.
Unless he goes to the Lakers, in which case they just become your favorite team.
They just are elevated to a different level.
Yes. I mean, you'd be pretty insufferable if it got to that point.
He'd be my second favorite player in the league easily if he got there.
Buy his jersey?
Probably. Weren't we talking about this?
I think I'm gonna buy it. Like, unless he goes to, even if he goes to play for the Knicks, I think I'll buy his jersey. Like, I really would just be so excited to see a Rutgers player in the NBA. I think Hamidi Ndiaye was the last player to get drafted in 2010. So it's a milestone that we haven't seen as students, and I didn't really cover or follow Rutgers basketball like that when I was younger. So this is like the first player I've ever seen like be in our program, and I could say that like he has a realistic chance of going to the NBA.
Yeah, I mean and to your point, I'm also a Net fan. If you were on the Knicks, yeah, I probably would. I mainly hate on teams that make the playoffs regularly, so it probably wouldn't be that bad for me. But yeah, I would buy a jersey. Not really much of a question about it. So, I guess my next question would be then, what kind of a fit do you think he'd be looking for? Like, what kind of a team do you think would be looking for him?
Team is
I'm not even asking like for names like this franchise. I'm talking more like style wise. Where do you see him fitting in at the next level?
A team that like spreads the ball around. A team that is like perimeter heavy. I feel like because like he's good down low, but like I just feel like the strength from like the guys he was backing down in college to the guys he'll be backing down in the NBA will be like a lot different. And I feel like his perimeter like shot like kind of speaks for itself. I feel like he would fit in a situation where like a team needs like a 3-and-D guy. Like a guy that can shoot well from the perimeter, but also a guy that can like stay in front of their man on defense and does a good job. I think that's where he would probably fit best.
Two things I want to see from Ron's game if they translate to the NBA. A, his driving ability getting to the rim. Is he going to be able to get past much more athletic guys on defense? Also, you got to take into account the NBA is very different than college. It could be very well easier to get to the rim in the NBA with all the fouling rules and all that. We've all had our experiences criticizing the foul rules in the NBA, but who knows if it's maybe a bit easier for him to get to the rim. But he's definitely going up against much better athletes on defense. So we'll see if he's able to translate that way. And then second, his defense and his overall fit. At Rutgers, he kind of had that in-between role, guard/forward. I mean, we had him as senior guard, Ron Harper Jr., but if we watched the games, you would see that he would play the 4, he played the 3, heck, he played the 2. He was kind of like that guard-forward transition, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he was kind of in between. So it'll be interesting to see if he kind of follows, I'm not saying he's Draymond Green, but follow the Draymond Green route of being like a 6'6", 6'7", like forward that plays, kind of like below the basket or, kind of in between, not maybe as like a true shooter like that, or if he goes more the guard route, if that makes sense. It'll be interesting to see how he does that. If he goes the guard route, I'll be interested to see how he does on defense, because obviously there's a lot better athletes in the NBA. You're going up against, talk about the guards/forwards, like think about like the Jason Tatums of the world, like even the Devin Bookers of the world, like the list is endless, like of guys who are elite players in the NBA that he'll have to go up against. So very fascinating to see. Ron Harper Jr., he's got to get there first. There's a lot of guys vying for very limited positions in the NBA, and rooting for the absolute best for him. But you guys got any thoughts on what I was saying?
Well, I would think in terms of his NBA fit, wherever he would go, I think he'd have to be a guard. I just feel like his game fits a lot better.
I agree.
Yeah.
As a guard. He could play that power forward role in college. I don't think he can. I mean, I don't want to say he can't do it, but I think he's a better fit for the guard position because, like you said,
His shooting.
Shooting is his biggest asset. He's a strong player, but I don't think his interior presence translates to the NBA the way that his outside game does. So I just think it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. I think, if he's going to play a 4 in the NBA, it's going to require a lot more, like, getting down low. And like I said, even at 6'6", 6'7", you mentioned his strength, but his height as well. Just think in the NBA, he'd just be a better, perimeter-type player. If he was, like, 6'10", like Trace Jackson Davis, it'd be a little different.
Yeah.
I completely agree on that. The only reason I think he might be a forward. I'm not saying I agree with Chris. I think he's best as a guard because of his shooting ability. But there are some players in the NBA that are a bit smaller but play that forward role. Think of PJ Tucker. Like PJ Tucker's kind of
plays center sometimes.
He plays center sometimes, and Ron Harper Jr. Maybe. I mean, they both have good 3-point. They both have good 3-point shots. Both stockier in build. I'm just thinking out loud right now. PJ Tucker could be, someone that could be similar to Ron Harper Jr. We'll see how that ends up. But there's definitely a role out there for Ron. Hopefully, things work out and he's able to get there. But moving on, if we're going to move on from Ron Harper Jr. to another set of professional combine or professional preparation, Rutgers Pro Day for football was on Tuesday. I was there personally. It was a lot of fun to watch. Bo Melton, Isaiah Pacheco, Giovanni Haskins, Mike DeVerdo,
Noah Vedral.
Trey Avery. Noah Vedral was making an appearance as a quarterback, throwing for Melton. It was a lot of fun to watch. Saw Bo Melton up close, running his routes, doing a lot of the in-between stuff, which was really cool to see. And then see Isaiah Pacheco work out in front of NFL scouts as well was really cool. I really didn't. It was tough. It was tough for me because it was the first pro day I've been to, and looking at the times and looking at them run, I didn't know if it was good or bad and really have a baseline on it. But for me, I thought they looked good. I thought Bo was really good. He had one drop pass, but that happens. And Pacheco, Pacheco's built, man. He's like around my height, but he's also like 220. So he definitely has the muscle to withstand the troubles of an NFL season. So looking forward to that. And he also got a private workout with the Denver Broncos, so that should hopefully he's able to do something with that. So guys, thoughts on Pro Day?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, do you want to talk about Pacheco's athleticism? I don't think it's really in question. 222 pounds, which is 7 pounds heavier than what he was his senior year. So, that shows that he put in the work to take his physicality to another level ahead of going to the NFL draft. But strength was, I think he was second in bench reps 27 reps, 225. That's pretty good for any player, but especially a running back. He just really projects as like the type of guy that runs through people rather than around them in the best way possible. And I think that he's someone who, if at a minimum, I could see him being like a third down back, someone you could put in those short yardage situations. I think his ceiling's a lot higher than that. I think his ceiling is, to be a NFL starting every down kind of a back. But, we don't really know the question of that until he suits up. But I think that Pro Day definitely helped his draft stock. And I think if I had to make a guess, I would say you can make a very good argument that he's their most pro-ready player.
Dylan?
Yeah, I didn't get to experience Pro Day. I was unfortunately at class. Sad, student reporter, student first. But
of course,
when I was in Indianapolis for the women's tournament, I did get to go see the combine, and Bo Melton, really was kind of at a level that I don't know if I was expecting. I didn't expect him to run a 4.34. I was really impressed with that. And I heard a lot of like Deebo Samuel comparisons for Melton. Obviously it's something that takes time, but I think it's the way he's built. He can kind of be like a running back wide receiver hybrid type. And I have heard some people say that he could be a 4th, 5th round pick, and I'm excited for that. I think Pacheco might have the like most complete skill set of someone going into the draft because he's just like a very strong running back who we now see has a lot of speed, and I think he has good cut ability as well. He's a guy that could get into open space against I think the best defenders in the world. So I'm really excited to see both of them. I'm hoping this is the revival of guys from Rutgers going to the NFL because for a long time in the mid 2000s and pretty much up until recently, a lot of Rutgers guys have had a lot of success in the NFL. You think Mohamed Sanu, the McCourty twins, Sebastian Joseph Day just won a Super Bowl this year. So a lot of opportunities coming out of Piscataway, and I think Bo and Isaiah really have a chance to both make an impact in the league. But you said it in the NBA when you're talking about Ron Harper Jr. It's all about fit. It's where you end up. It's what they do with you in the system, and they got to earn their spot too. They're not going to be a starter on any team they get drafted on. Maybe Bo if it's a really wide receiver like low team. I don't think Isaiah would be a rookie starting at running back, so it's going to be a lot of earning your spot for these guys, but I'm excited to see it.
Can you imagine Bo Melton with the star on his helmet?
Come on,
playing
dude.
in AT&T
Why'd
Stadium?
you do that? Why'd you do that?
Can you imagine?
I can imagine it, but I don't know. He could be your wide receiver 1 now that Amari Cooper decided to take his talents to Cleveland.
I was hoping we could avoid that.
We were not going
to. You talked about a wide receiver wearing a star on his helmet. What did you think was going to happen, Jack?
Yeah. Well, we were talking about fit and how in Ron Harper Jr.'s case in the NBA and Bo Melton and Isaiah Pacheco's case, it's all about fit and situation. And unfortunately, someone who did not win that lottery in the NFL was one Baker Mayfield because he is currently
no fit.
He is currently the QB2 at the moment on the Browns because the Browns decided to go and pay $230 million to Deshaun Watson in the biggest news of the NFL offseason up to this moment. Would I say that?
It's been a whirlwind.
Craziest NFL offseason.
I'm gonna be honest. Like over the past week, like I've heard about all these moves. Like Tyreek Hill is a Miami Dolphin now. Like Teron Armstead is also a Miami Dolphin now. Do you guys remember that 2 weeks ago, Devontae Adams on the Raiders now? I have not thought about that in 6 days because of so many things that have been going on. Matt Ryan is the starting quarterback of the Colts now. Carson Wentz is back in the NFC East. I think we can high five over that, Jack. Yeah, throwing interceptions to both our teams 4 times a season.
Starting quarterback of the newly named Washington Commanders.
They will be commanding 4th place in the NFC East.
Well, first, I can't get used to that name still. I suppose it's better than having no name, but...
I like the football team. It grew on me.
Yeah.
Washington FT.
It grew on me.
They could have been FT Washington instead if they want to put in front.
I like that.
Go the FC Cincinnati route.
Oh, man.
We also talk about the LA Chargers just making a run at everybody.
Yeah.
Sebastian Joseph Day, he's now an LA Charger. Like you said, it's been such a whirlwind offseason that I completely missed.
Miller?
No, Bills.
They signed someone else.
Yes,
Chargers
you're right,
defensive
though.
end.
You're right, though. I'll look at that, but
that's how crazy this has been. There's been so many moves that it's really hard to keep up with them.
Yeah,
but the NFL is gonna be a completely different landscape next year. Completely different.
Absolutely, and a lot of guys go in different places, but our two favorite teams have done absolutely nothing. I mean, I don't know.
Well, we almost got Tyreek Hill.
Almost got Tyreek
We were
Hill.
a member of the Tyreek Hill sweepstakes. I want to put that on the record right now.
We have zero salary cap, so there's nothing we can. Joe Shane is literally just signing guys he liked in Buffalo. Matt Breida is on the Giants now. Like, we signed a defensive tackle a couple days ago who has a half a sack for his career, but played for the Browns, or played for the Bills, excuse me. But we can't do anything. It's all about next season.
I mean, if you want to talk about the Browns, they're making a very questionable move right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, like that. Talk about
Questionable,
a controversy.
Controversial, but could be controversial enough to win them playoff games. He's amazing.
I mean, at the end of the day, in the NFL, like so many teams, there's always a team willing to do things that may not be right morally, but like they just want to win.
Cleveland has also literally never won, pretty much never won anything since the 1950s. So. If any team was going to do it, if any team was desperate enough to do it, it's going to be Cleveland. And I mean, I'm not saying that I don't I'm not going to put my opinion out there, but I think for them, enough has happened in the criminal case to where they're it's not going to affect us. So they feel okay with making that move. I don't know how I'd feel about it.
I would not be on board with it.
I mean, people said that the Giants should do it, and I was like, first of all, he's gonna literally make $600,000 this year if he decides to play for the Giants because we're negative $6 million in the.
I mean, you're talking to a Jet fan who has been there and done that in terms of just being in a cap sewer. Now we have cap space and no one wants to play for us, so I guess that's an upgrade.
Yeah, but just so much, and I said this to some people. But I think the Miami Dolphins will be by far the most improved team in the NFL next season. I think if they get hot at the end of the season, they can make a run deeper in the playoffs. I really do. I mean, people are talking about Tua not being able to throw the deep ball, but if you get the ball 5 yards in front of you to either Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle or Mike Gesicki or Chase Edmonds, who they also just signed, good things are going to happen. And their defense is so talented. They have one of the best cornerback groups in the entire league. I think that Miami could be the surprise team in the AFC, in the NFL in general. I think they could go to I think if they get hot at the right time, they go to the Super Bowl.
There's no room for excuses for Tua now, right?
No.
I mean, you listed off.
Absolutely
you listed
not.
off
If there
all,
were any before.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
You listed off all the. You listed off all the weapons ideas. By the way, I'll say real quick about the Chargers. They signed J.C. Jackson and they traded for Khalil Mack.
That's right.
That's
okay.
what they did.
The Bears are great at tanking and being terrible.
Yes.
They're amazing at it.
Well, they hired Matt Nagy, so.
Yes.
Well, but staying on the Dolphins though, I could see them being the most improved team, 100%. I mean, I think the Dolphins' thought process. I heard this somewhere, and it kind of makes sense. They might not pay Tua, based on what they've seen so far. So paying Tyreek Hill all that money kind of makes sense if they're going to drop Tua after this year, possibly, and then go and draft a QB next year. I mean, it makes sense that way.
We were talking about a QB who doesn't really know where his future lies and probably would take a contract for not too much. I don't think it'd be the worst idea for the Dolphins to pick up Baker and see what happens with Tua, and if they really need someone
as backup.
Yeah, I don't really think that'd be the worst thing.
Would Baker do that though?
No.
Yeah,
because Baker,
that's a good point.
Say
too.
what you want about him, but if Deshaun Watson was not on the market, by all indications are he would have. I mean, they would have. I mean, they would have gotten.
I don't think he's bad though.
No, I don't. But I'm trying to. I'm debating with myself whether or not he would have started this year. Because on the one hand, he's good enough to start. Just a question of will he take you where the Browns want to go? And clearly, they decided the answer to that is no. But I think he's. I'll put it to you this way: if you have everything else in place to win, I think that you can live with Baker Mayfield as your quarterback. And I think as long as that is the case, and a team is willing to do that, and I think that there will be a team that wants to start him. Don't ask me who, but it'll be someone. I don't think he's going to settle for a backup role. I think he knows once you become a backup, it's very hard to get out of that trap, and that's how you quickly turn into what's his face, the guy from USC. He played on like a million teams.
Matt Barkley?
Yes, torched the Jets.
John David Booty?
It was the first one was right. It was Matt Barkley. I mean, you could say about any USC quarterback, but
Matt Leinart too.
Matt Leinart, yes. Yes,
Yep.
But I feel like Barkley just stuck around longer. But anyway, this is not the Matt Barkley podcast, so we'll move on.
I would be down for the Matt Barkley podcast. But speaking of quarterback battles, my New York Football Giants now have a quarterback battle. Signed Tyrod Taylor a few weeks ago, and I gotta say, I'm all for it. Now, multiple reasons. One, got experience with this coaching staff. The quarterback's coach, the new head coach, both from Buffalo. The GM, obviously, from Buffalo. And I'm very excited about that, too.
The Buffalo Giants.
The Buffalo Giants. They're actually a New York team now. I'm for it. But number two, I think Daniel Jones should be challenged. He's not played well enough to have his spot this season. It's his last season on his rookie deal. If he doesn't play well, he's not coming back. And I think, Tyrod Taylor could be a good stopgap if he's someone that we really need.
Is this Daniel Jones' last straw? Last year?
Oh yeah. It should have been last season where we figured it out, but he missed the last 8 games with a neck injury. So I don't think that it was decided whether he was like the guy or not. The problem is with him though, he has flashes. He'll throw for 450 yards against the Saints, and then he'll throw for 3 interceptions and 200 yards against the Rams. But
there is a rule about quarterbacks that are like on the tail end of their rookie deals. Once you have like 2, what is Daniel Jones? This be his 4th year or 3rd?
It's his 4th. They already announced they're not picking up his 5th year option.
Okay. Once you're at that stage, the general rule is if you have to ask if someone's a real deal, the answer is probably no.
That's fair.
I speak from experience. I speak from experience on this. Now, I will say this. I think Tyrod Taylor is a pretty cheap starting quarterback. So
very good, too. I mean, I'm not very good, but
he's good. He's good enough.
Good player.
He can win you some football games.
He would have started in. I'm trying to remember where when he got.
It was the Chargers.
The Chargers. He got his lung puncture.
That was when Herbert took over.
Yeah, Herbert's great. But Tyrod Taylor.
That's a wild way to get your first start.
That's
like something out of Madden.
He's been the starter in a lot of not really awful situations, and he's kind of figured out a way to make the most out of them. Like Buffalo wasn't very good when he was starting. The Chargers weren't very good. The Browns are coming off being 0-16, so. He's done a lot with a very little, and, I'm not saying that I realistically think the Giants are going to win 5 games this year. I don't see it. I think next year is the season where it has a chance to really go up, but if anyone's going to win those games, I think it could be Tyrod Taylor, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jones plays 6-7 weeks, and then that's it.
I don't even know if it would take that long. I mean, I'd be tempted to – I think, look, if I were the head coach of the New York Giants – which I'm not qualified to do, just full disclaimer. If I were the head coach of the Giants...
You're telling me all this WRSU experience doesn't get you a head coaching job?
I mean, if you're looking for me to be making play calls on 3rd and 9, you're at the wrong place.
I will say, I think you would have done a better job than Pat Shurmur. And maybe Ben McAdoo besides his first season.
Maybe Ben McAdoo?
His first season, they were 10-6 and went to the playoffs.
I mean, Matt, what's his face? Todd Bowles went 10-6 his first year, too. And Adam Gase went 10-6 with the Miami Dolphins, and now I think he's like a quality assurance assistant at some high school. So
that sounds like he's working for like a car dealership.
He didn't even make it to the Nick Saban school for coaches who can't coach good.
So before we wrap this up, I have a question for both of you because we're on the subject of paying quarterbacks, and I feel like with quarterbacks, it's such a double-edged sword with having a quarterback. We're seeing it right now. When you pay a quarterback so much money, it really bankrupts your team and it really destroys the salary cap and it really hinders you from winning a Super Bowl. We're seeing it all over the league. I mean, why is Tyreek Hill a Miami Dolphin right now?
I mean, I guess, but they won a Super Bowl.
And why is Devontae Adams a Las Vegas Raider at the moment? And they won that Super Bowl on Mahomes' rookie deal. So I'm saying paying a quarterback is really coming back to bite a lot of these players. I'm not saying don't pay a quarterback. I'm just saying when you get to these astronomical amounts that a lot of these players are getting to, it really destroys your cap. And like I said, you're seeing it all over the league right now. What do you call it? I'm just fascinated to see how it's playing out throughout the league. And also with my own team, the Cowboys, we're paying Dak $40 million a year, and we don't have Amari Cooper anymore.
I was excited when they signed that deal. That's exactly what I wanted.
What's your guys' opinion on that, though? Because it's just interesting to me seeing that because from a person Me as a person, I look at it as go get as much money as you can. But from a team perspective, it's the complete opposite. We need you to take less money in order to win. So.
I hate to bring him up because I think he's brought up in like every football conversation ever. But has Tom Brady ever been the highest paid player in the NFL? Like, probably not.
No.
By the way, he's back.
Yes.
Like we forgot to mention
Tom
that.
Brady's back.
He's back.
I'll walk out of this room right now.
20 years of misery.
He will play until he's 50. But I just think he's never been the highest paid player on his team. He's always allowed like Belichick and Robert Kraft and now Bruce Arians and the Bucs GM to really come out and create a complete team around him. And I think that's one of the biggest things why he's been able to win. The Patriots for most of the 2000s had an incredible defense. Even in the 2010s, their defense was good enough. They've always had offensive pieces that just work well, and it is hard when you're giving a guy $200 million. Like, if you're giving a quarterback $200 million, what's your defense realistically going to look like as a result of that? And the NFL is one of those leagues where, like, in the NBA, you have 3 stars. You could absolutely win everything. In the NFL, you got to be complete on both sides of the ball to even have a chance at going to the Super Bowl. And even then, you could play badly in a playoff game and it could be over. It's really hard to win in this league. In Kansas City's case, it's really hard to win again. So I just think it's a combination of it's being a tough league, and I do agree. You just have to be really complete. So I think that paying a quarterback is, not always the right decision. Cleveland, though, I think they're realistically like a quarterback away from being like.
It's going to have to be these next 2 years or so because then the roster's
I think they're in a really good spot.
Roster's going to get expensive.
It was the best time to get Watson. They overpaid him. I mean, I think, how could you not say they overpaid him? But if they were going to get him, it's probably this year or probably last year would have been the best time for them.
And I'll say real quick, Chris, before I let you go. The Rams, if the Rams didn't win this year, they weren't winning a Super Bowl. Like,
ever.
For a long time.
They put
all their chips into the table. So everyone will say Matthew Stafford, he gets paid a good amount of money to play quarterback. Well, this year, if they didn't win this year, they were done. They were not winning, and I don't think they're winning in years to come as well with their situation. But Chris,
would you take that deal as a Cowboy fan?
Yes, I would
take
take
like
that deal.
9-7, 10-6, or whatever it is now.
Yes. I don't think they're regretting their decision, but I'm saying like.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, the goal is to win a Super Bowl. And
Absolutely.
one Super Bowl is memories that last a long time for a fan base. I think, Dylan, you can attest to this. Having been riding on the coattails of those two for the last decade of mediocrity.
I'll take my 2 playoff wins.
Yeah. But to get back to that point, I think if you go, and I don't know where you could find this, but if you go on like a list of like highest paid quarterbacks like by year, how many of those years did that quarterback go on to win a championship?
It can't
be more than like 1 or 2, right?
Can't be too many.
Like, and I think I don't think that's a coincidence because the NFL is a league where parity is essential.
Yeah.
And it's a league where, it's not just about, if you have the best quarterback, you automatically win a Super Bowl. All the other pieces, or I would say most of the other pieces, have to be in place. I mean, the Bengals had, Swiss cheese O-line, but because Burrow and his weapons were able to do the magic that they did, they were able to make a run to the Super Bowl. And for what it's worth, I think that team's going to be pretty good next year.
They restocked up.
Yes.
They got, I think, 2 or 3 like starting level offensive linemen, and they look good.
Yeah.
They got La'el Collins. They just got La'el Collins.
It's like if you were doing a franchise mode in Madden and you sim through one full season and then you find like 20 teams have like just completely changed. Like the Giants have moved to Dublin. Like everything's just completely turned on its head. That does happen to me like in every franchise I've done, like where I forget to turn off the relocation stat. The team moves to Dublin.
Shout out to the Dublin Giants. I'd still root for that team. That'd be amazing.
Probably win more games over there.
I believe you.
I used to love those relocations, but I guess to put a wrap on this conversation. Excuse me. The average money per year that these quarterbacks make. Aaron Rodgers is first, and we obviously know the long documented Super Bowl drought that Aaron Rodgers is on. Deshaun Watson is now up there. I mean, what has really Deshaun Watson done in the league outside making it to that divisional round?
Making the Texans not look awful.
Yeah, I
for
guess
his entire career.
Then Pat Mahomes is third. He hasn't won a Super Bowl since he got that money. Josh Allen's up there. He hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl. My boy Dak Prescott's there. Matt Stafford's there. Kirk Cousins is there. Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz. Jared Goff made it to the Super Bowl on his rookie deal. So that's my 2 cents on the whole salary bonanza. And then Justin Herbert is coming up. Lamar Jackson's coming up. Name all the good young QBs, and Joe Burrow, of course, they're
Daniel
coming
Jones.
up. I'm just gonna leave that one. Just gonna leave that one. And that's all for today.
If I really wanted to stoke chaos, I'd throw Zach Wilson's name in there, but it's too early. It's too early.
On that note. And that's all for today. Join us next time on Keeping Score for more sports recaps, and make sure to follow the Daily Targum on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more content.